Hello, fellow teachers. Today, we're tackling something that can be a real challenge, and that is making grammar lessons actually fun and effective. I know, I know. When students hear the word grammar lesson, they often, more often than not, zone out. But if you stick with me in this lesson, I'm about to share some game changing techniques that have transformed my classroom. So let's make grammar something students want to learn. But before we dive into the specifics, let's start with something that might surprise you. Here's a truth bomb. We, teachers, sometimes overcomplicate things. I learned this the hard way when I spent 20 minutes explaining present perfect tense. That was only to see glazed eyes looking back at me. What was the key? It was to keep it short and, most importantly, as they say, sweet. Think about it like a movie trailer. Give your students just enough to get interested and not the whole plot. For example, instead of explaining all the rules of past tense, start with something that's finished, add ed. And that's simple, isn't it? Let those basics sink in first. You can always add more details later when students are ready for them, most importantly. So, now here's something controversial that actually works wonders. And I'm going to say it. Using students' first language in class can be incredibly helpful. I know some of you might be thinking, but shouldn't it be only English class or English only class? So here's the thing. A quick explanation in their native language can actually save you 20 minutes of confusion time. For example, when teaching articles to, for example, Spanish speakers, comparing the word the to el or la creates instant understanding. It's like giving them a shortcut to comprehension. So remember, our goal is effective learning, not proving how much English we can use. By the way, speaking of making things clearer, let's get real. When was the last time someone asked you about what's present perfect continuous in a real conversation outside of your ESL classroom? It's never, right? That's why I've completely changed how I explain grammar to my students. For example, instead of saying use the definite article, I simply say use the when you're talking about something specific. And here's a fun example I use in class. Instead of saying possessive adjectives, I say words that show something belongs to you. The students' faces literally light up when they actually hear it. So now, here's what we start making grammar actually fun. Here's how we start making it actually fun. This is where the magic happens. Do you want to know my secret weapon? My secret weapon is songs, chants, and fun expressions. I had this student who couldn't get past tense. It was an elementary class, beginner elementary class, right until we started singing, "Yesterday all my troubles seem so far away." It's a song for those people who do not know. It's a song from the Beatles, For the Win. So try this. Make students create silly sentences with grammar patterns. For example, like for conditionals, it can be, if my cat could talk, she would ask for pizza. Get your students laughing and they'll remember the pattern forever. I once had my whole class create a rap about irregular verbs. It was hilarious, but guess what? They still remember those verbs. And how do we make this actually useful in real life? You might be thinking. Here's how we bridge the gap between classroom grammar and, most importantly, real world use. Traditional exercises have their place and I understand it. They're like training wheels. But the real learning happens when students use grammar to express their own ideas. So for example, I'll share a quick activity that I use in my classroom. Take any grammar point and turn it into a personal question. If you're learning conditionals, ask, what would you do if you won the lottery? And suddenly, grammar lessons become a tool for real communication and not just a rule to sort of memorize. It's very boring otherwise. So let's put all this into real classroom action. And how do you do that? Here's what we do. These are my go-to techniques that work absolutely wonderful every single time. One of my favorite is using current situations. So for example, when it's raining, that's absolutely perfect because it helps me with present continuous tense. If there's a World Cup that's happening, it's great for future tense predictions. I actually once turned my entire class into a mock TV show for practicing questions. One student was a celebrity and the others were journalists. The grammar practice was happening naturally and they didn't even realize they were learning. So let me wrap this particular lesson with the big picture. And what is that? Here's what we've learned. Teaching grammar doesn't have to be boring or, for that matter, complicated. Remember our pyramid of success. Yes, you heard it right. It's called pyramid of success. Keep explanations simple, like explaining to a friend. Use mother tongue strategically. It's not cheating, it's smart teaching. Skip the fancy terms. Nobody needs them in real life. Keep it memorable. Songs, jokes, fun activities, they all do wonders. And focus on real communication. That's why we learn grammar, most importantly in the first place. And my dear teachers, before you go, here's your homework. Try just one of these techniques in your next class and start small, maybe with just simplifying one grammar explanation at a time. Then come back and comment below to tell me how it went. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more practical teaching tips. And remember, we're in this together, making grammar less scary, one class at a time. Ciao, ciao.